Hello, everyone. So we are just going to continue our discussion on fungal diversity. That's still on our first topic for this third quarter. No? So as you may have noticed, chinap-chap ko lang siya. Inuna ko yung upload ng video on general characteristics of fungi and then sineparate ko yung major supergroups para hindi na continuous stretch of YouTube video yung inyong mapapanood kasi it might be too tawag dyan, boring on your end. For example, if I'm just going to, flood you with all these new concepts. Okay? So we are just going to start where we left. So yung about sa major groups, no? So sinabi natin that these organisms are chiefly heterotrophic. Some can be unicellular, as in the case of yeast, and multicellular as in the case of molds. Ano? And kingdom fungi is actually a monophyletic group. So if you try to see if you try to look at here, no, this phylogenetic tree, this cladogram shows the evolutionary relationship um, among fungi stemming from the last universal common ancestor, no, which was thought to be a flagellated saprotroph, and this flagellated saprotroph possessed a chitinous cell wall. So over time daw, una na nag-diverge from the last universal common ancestor was our chytrids, no? Yung ating chytridiomycetes, no? And this is the only clade of fungi that was able to retain yung flagella, no? And from here onwards, nagkaroon ng ating zygospores, yung ating arbuscular mycorrhizae fungi, and then both club and sac fungi are monophyletic, no? And they share the same clade as shown here. Okay, and you can see on the right panel right here some of the salient features of each of these organisms. No, say for example, when we have chytrids, these are chiefly aquatic and they have flagellated spores and gametes. Zygospores naman, more commonly known yung ating black bread molds, no? They have thick-walled zygospores and non-motile spores produced in sporangia. Yung ating glomeromycota naman, o yung ating glomeromycetes, also known as the arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, they form associations with plants, so mutualistic yung kanilang approach. Ano? Sac fungi naman yung ating ascomycetes. Okay? These are ang ating cup fungi, no, that produce non-motile spores in their asci or yung ating finger-like projections, which we are going to discuss in a while. And of course, yung pinaka-common, I think, sa ating example, when we talk about fungi, will be yung ating basidiomycetes, or yung ating basidiomycota. For example, yung ating terrestrial fungi that produce these non-motile spores, pero sa basidia naman. Okay? Yung sa ating cup, no? Yung club-like shape dito. Okay? So ito yung pag-uusapan natin for this video recording. So first off, we are going to talk about chytridiomycota or yung ating chytridiomycetes. This is known as the earliest lineage or the most primitive forms of fungi. Although if you try to look at other references, meron ng pang-anim, di ba? Yung ating microsporidia. But I am simply following what's stipulated in our learning guides at walang sinali na microsporidians dito. Microsporidians, if you try to recall, these are actually under protists, ano? But more in the recent years, it's actually now considered as a fungi. So hindi ko siya sinali. So it's a common knowledge, no, na sinabi dito na yung based on the learning guides that chytrids are the earliest lineage and the most primitive form of fungi. And they are unique kasi nga meron sila nitong flagellated spores, something na wala na nung modern day na fungi natin. And of course, just like with other fungi, their cell walls are made up of chitin, and meron din sila nung key enzymes and metabolic pathways that they share with other fungal groups, no? So yung kanilang hyphae are sinusitic. Take note, ano nga ibig sabihin pag sinusitic? It's just a continuous cytoplasmic flow within the hyphae. Wala siyang segmentations, wala siyang cross-wall sections. Okay? So these organisms, yung ating chytridiomycetes or chytrids, are ubiquitous. No? They are found everywhere in lakes, in soils. And an example for this is this one, Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis. This is actually this is actually a chytrid that appears transparent under a light microscope, and it's a parasite, no? In freshwater na frog, no? And this organism, no, yung ating Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, has been known as an agent for the rapid decline of these amphibians in freshwater ecosystems. And although hindi naman kinakain directly yung frog, but it poses an ecological na red flag kasi nga when natanggal na itong frog na ito, what happens? No, ano yung possible implications? Yung kinakain ng frog na to, kasi nga nawala na yung population nito because of this chytrid, no, yung ating Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, what happens is dadami yung kinakain niya. Okay? At yung kumakain sa kanya, yung nakarely kay frog, what happens? There's a chance na mawawala or it might prey on other food source. So instead, nakakainin niya yung amphibian na to, but because namatay siya, then what happens? It could also affect other ecosystems. So nagkakaroon ng shift, no, ng paradigm shift just because of this episode of mass killing of these freshwater of this amphibian rather. Okay? So that's chytrids. We also have ating zygomycetes, no? Meron silang cenocytic hyphae just like that of chytrids. Okay? Pero, what is its distinguishing feature? Okay? Yung distinguishing feature nito, hindi siya flagellated, it's characterized by the presence of these protective zygosporangium, ano? Yung ating zygosporangium, okay? And this is formed during the sexual stage, no? Where zygotes will produce haploid spores via meiosis. So these zygospores right here are, or yung ating zygosporangium in some textbooks, are able to, or can be germinated to other places and can form a new organism. So more commonly known siya as bread molds, no? They can grow on meat, on cheese, in bread, and another example for this is this one, Rhizopus stolonifer. What I like about this is para siyang yung si Bellsprout na Pokemon, and I know this is not Rhizopus. This is Rhizopus stolonifer, yung ating common bread mold. This one is Pilobolus. I forgot the exact scientific name. Pilobolus species lang siya. And what it does is its substrate is an animal dung. And you can see that its zygosporangium or yung kanyang zygospores ay nakabend, no? And it's actually bending towards the light, no? Where there is likely to be an opening for possible vegetation. So for it to propagate, what it does is it will launch its sporangia that's located within this zygosporangium in a jet of water, and it can travel to some distance. So parang isushoot niya lang doon, and then kapag natanim na yung spore in a new vegetation, it can grow to a new organism. Okay? So yung kanyang salient feature, again, as I said, yung kanyang zygospores, yung kanyang zygosporangium. And then we also have glomeromycetes, or in other textbooks, you can see this as arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, because these organisms are chiefly arbuscular mycorrhizae, or yung ating endomycorrhizae. So what it does, diba, if you try to recall yung general features ng fungi, these organisms are capable of penetrating the plant roots, These glomeromycetes would form these endomycorrhizal associations with the plant roots, and because they are mutualistic, they would supply yung minerals and other nutrients to the roots, and in return, ano nga yung binabalik kay fungi? Yung ating carbohydrate, which is a product of photosynthesis. Okay? So, the scanning electron micrograph right here, no, depicts yung ating arbuscule. So this is the rigid na plant cell wall, di ba? Very familiar siya, no? And inside the plant, the root cell to be specific, no, you can see here a mass of this arbuscule, no, that's bulging into the root cell, and it pushes the membrane, no. So it, in a way, it increases the cell, the surface area of the plant cell. Okay. So this one in here, on the left of the screen on my pointer, this is an example of plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. And you can see here, no, yung parang nodules na to. It has been shown to increase nitrogen fixation in tawag dyan, common dito yun ang soybean natin, lentils and peas, no, all of these leguminous plants. Okay? So that's for glomeromycetes. So again, meron tayong first yung ating chytrids, ano? Sila lang yung flagellated, cenocytic din yung kanilang hyphae, and then we have zygomycetes, yung ating bread molds, no? And yung hyphae nila is also cenocytic. And then ano nga yung kanilang salient feature? They have these zygospores, no? Yung ating zygosporangium during their sexual stage. Yung glomeromycetes naman, they form arbuscular mycorrhizal associations with plants. Okay? So moving on, second to the last will be ascomycetes, no? Ang pinagkaiba naman nila with compared to yung first na tatlong groups of classification natin, septated naman yung kanilang hyphae. Ibig sabihin, merong cross-wall compartmentalization. And these organisms form a wide variety of marine, freshwater, and terrestrial habitats. Okay? So yung defining feature naman ng ascomycetes ay yung production ng spores, or what we call yung ating ascospores in sac-like assays. So if you can follow my pointer right here, this is what the sac-like assay look like. Thus, they're commonly called sac fungi. And during their sexual stage, these ascomycetes, some of them would develop these fruiting bodies, no? May fruiting bodies called ascocarps, which range in size from microscopic, no? Pwede siyang microscopic, and some can be seen by the naked eye, as in this case, no? So, yung example dito in my slide is the edible ascocarp, no? Yung Morchella is esculenta. Morel is used in culinary, no, together with truffles. It's under this one right here. Okay? And another example, so macroscopic, may example na tayo, no? Example ng ascomycete that's microscopic, of course, yung ating yeast, no? Yeast na ginagamit natin to produce yung ating bread and alcoholic beverages, di ba? Yung ating malt, di ba? And the mold penicillium, alam natin na ito yung unang pinanggamitan to produce the antibiotic penicillin. So, many, no, it's actually like more than half of the members of this phylum Ascomycota form symbiotic associations with algae to form lichens. So in our topic on the importance of fungi, we are going to talk more about these lichens. Okay, so in here we have tuber, also melanosporum, no? This is also a truffle species. Ito yung truffle na to, ano? I haven't really personally tasted truffle, so I can't describe what it tastes like. Pero based on Gordon Ramsay, parang earthy yung kanyang ano, no, yung kanyang taste, yung kanyang flavor. So very distinct yung kanyang flavor. So both morel and truffles are ascomycetes. Okay? And lastly, yung pinaka-common sa atin, I think, no, will be ating basidiomycetes, or also known as yung ating club-like fungi, because of the basidium that gives rise to yung parang club-like na protrusion na to. Okay? And basidiomycetes, just like with ascomycetes. So take note, they are in the same clade. So definitely they share more similar or like more common features. Like for example, septated hyphae. So si ascomycota lang at si basidiomycota yung may septated hyphae. Contrary to that with chytrids, with zygomycetes, at yung ating arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi or yung ating glomeromycetes. Okay? So members of this phylum, meron siyang club-shaped structure called basidium that produce sexual spores. So below this one, on the ventral side of this basidium, okay, dito nakapaloob yung spores that can be germinated by water and wind. And take note, this vegetative portion right here is protruding on the surface of its substrate, say for example on the soil. So for example, halimbawa nagkaroon ng malakas na hangin or nagkaroon ng water movement, no, natanga yung spores, these spores are able to thrive and grow and mature into a new individual via the process of asexual reproduction. Okay? Of course, these spores are reproduced via sexual reproduction, 'di ba? Yung ating hyphae that can tawag diyan fuse with other hyphae from another organism, 'di ba? Yung ating plasmogamy, and then when time or conditions become favorable, it can the nuclei will fuse by the process of karyogamy, and then the karyogamy will give us a zygote, which will then undergo meiosis and produce yung ating sexual spores. Okay, so very common and very tawag dyan, very similar yung kanilang types of sexual reproduction. Okay? So in here, yung concentration ng growth ng basidium actually is in its fruiting body, no, yung vegetative state na sinasabi ko kanina, yung sa ating basidium. And this one right here can absorb water and many nutrients, and members of this phylum are known to be important decomposers of wood and other plant material. So of all the fungi, of all the fungal na classifications, basidiomycetes are best at decomposing the complex na polymer lignin. So lignin, if you try to recall, this is an abundant component of wood, and in its complex nature, complex state, hindi siya nagagamit right away ng ating fungi. So kailangan siyang i-break down, and this is usually from weak or damaged trees, no? So if you can see a dead log and then may tumubo na parang club-like na fungi, then most probably these organisms are are basidiomycetes, And what these organism does is it basically tries to decompose the wood and make use of the nutrients from the wood after the tree dies. Okay? So that's it for the general classifications. And for our last lesson for the fungal diversity will be on importance. So medyo mahaba-haba rin siya, okay? Kasi it's 2 modules. And then we are also going to include the influence of anthropogenic factors on fungal diversity, like how our animals and humans are vectors of fungi that made it possible for fungi to be considered as pathogens both for plants and animals. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. I hope this will help in your preparation. So God bless everyone. Stay safe.